That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.
Hey y'all, it's me, your host, Christina, just dropping by to say that I'm super thankful for you. Oh my gosh, here in the United States, tomorrow's Thanksgiving, which is a totally bogus holiday that I don't like, but it's a great opportunity to reflect about your own life and think about what you're thankful for, which I think is an important practice every day of the year, and particularly Thanksgiving. So I'm thankful for y'all. To express my gratitude, I'm giving you the gift of one of our Patreon bonus episodes. This one was hosted by our dear friend Andrew. If you enjoy it, I hope you consider joining our Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You can support the podcast and help us literally exist. Without you, we would literally not exist. So we're grateful for you. I hope I've made that exceedingly clear. And if you're celebrating Thanksgiving, have a good one. Travel safe. Do the right things. Y'all know what to do. And just be excellent to each other. Enjoy.
Magical herpes.
Really?
Okay.
Magical herpes.
Now that's how you open a podcast, Christina. I'm Andrew, and this is a special Patreon episode of the Restricted Section podcast we are calling Behind the Magical Bastards. So for those of you who aren't cool enough to listen to the regular episodes all the way to the end to hear the neat stuff we plug, let me explain. One of my all-time favorite podcasts is called Behind the Bastards. Its host is the biggest man crush in my life right now, a conflict journalist named Robert Evans. The idea of the show is that Robert has a guest who comes on not knowing what the topic of the episode will be. The topics are the worst fascists, grifters, con men, and general pieces of shit from history. Robert reads an essay he prepared on the subject and enlightens the guest and listener with comical descriptions of, just awful things. Through it all is his tortured producer, Sophie, who tries to keep him on track and unsued. Now, I'm the type of person who never shuts up about the things I like, and I suffer from the worst version of thinking that if I like something, everyone else will. Because of this, I didn't shut up about Behind the Bastards long enough that Christina finally gave in and listened to it. Christina, it is fair to say that you became a fan, correct?
Yeah, I just caught up, I think, a week ago on all the back episodes.
Awesome. Maybe a month ago, you came to me and said that we could do a Behind the Bastards themed episode, and I couldn't resist. So you gave me a few weeks to put one together, and even found one of our loveliest friends to be a guest. So let me introduce my guest today, Nic Dorer.
Hi, thanks for having me, you guys.
Hey, girl.
Hello. Now, Nic, what is your experience with Harry Potter and your knowledge of the universe?
I am absolutely an uneducated newbie. I know about nothing. I haven't really read the books, and I've seen bits and pieces of the movies. Definitely interested. I think it's, fun to watch, but I don't know much at all.
Yeah. See, and just let this serve as proof to our normal listeners that, yes, we definitely do have friends in our friend groups that are not Harry Potter fans. We're not all Harry Potter fans, but you will see we do extort them for their lack of knowledge every once in a while. So
you're going to work for Harry Potter either way.
Yeah, we're going to get something out of you. So, Nic, thank you for agreeing to come on today. Yeah, and so let's go ahead and dive right into it. Our topic today is going to be Gilderoy Lockhart. Okay, now I want to go ahead and put out a quick disclaimer here. This information that I'm going to be going over comes from mainly just one source, which is the Harry Potter Wiki. The reason for that is all of the information you can find on him that's outside of the books, that's not just made up, comes from the same places. So normally, whereas it would be better journalistically, if that's a word, to get multiple sources, all of mine do come just from the one, simply because they all have the same information. So if you ever Google them, you can find all the same stuff. But yeah, so I guess fair to say, Nic, you do not know anything about Gilderoy Lockhart.
I do not. He has quite a mouthful of a name. I know that so far, but nothing else.
Okay, all right. So one thing, Nic, to be aware of is the Harry Potter universe is set in a way that The timeline is that Harry is going to be 11 years old in 1990, I believe is what we've kind of figured out. I know it's out there somewhere concrete, but that's the relative date for you. So I'm going to reference some dates just so you know where it is in reference to young Harry. That's where we're talking.
Okay, great.
All right, so Gilderoy Lockhart was born on January 26, 1964, to a Muggle man and a witch. He had 2 elder sisters, both of whom were squibs. Now, obviously, this term means, I can tell by your face, the listeners can't see it, but Nick, you have no idea what a squib is, correct?
I do not.
All right, so what a squib is when a magical person has a child, there is a chance that the child will be born as a non-magical individual. The kind of colloquial term that I don't know whether or not it's derogatory, but it's the only term that we ever hear for that type of individual is a squib.
Okay.
So what this is saying is that Gilderoy had a non-magical father, a magical mother, and then 2 older sisters that were non-magical.
Wow.
So because Lockhart's father and 2 older sisters were non-magical people, the fact that Gilderoy was magical caused his mother to dote on him all the time. She's said to have unshamedly shown Gilderoy more love and affection than anyone else in the family. He was constantly told how special he was for things that he really did no work for. And that's never been a problem, right? I mean, nothing bad's ever happened in the magical or muggle worlds because someone thinks uncontrollable traits make one superior. Like, you know, magical ability or race. Yeah, fun stuff.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it never happens. Not once. Ever. So, when young Gilderoy got his acceptance letter, this became yet another thing to praise him for. He was so special. The Harry Potter wiki actually goes on to say, quote, he and his mother forgot in their excitement that Hogwarts was a school for all British and Irish wizards, and thus his introduction into the school, along with everyone else, was, in his eyes, extremely dull. So, yeah, we're seeing already that he's like kind of developing into a very, very repulsive child.
There's a complex there, absolutely.
Yeah, we're starting to see some patterns, right?
Yes, you can't condition someone that way. It just leads to, I don't know, disaster.
Well, I mean, I can't think of anything recently in the news where a young child kind of grew up thinking that he was special because of something, you know,
he did nothing for.
That he did nothing for, and then going and causing, you know, 2 people to die. That didn't happen. So
this is why I can't fuck with a mama's boy for like even a second.
Bet. Yeah. No. Nope.
I'm your mama now.
Bet.
Gilderoy Lockhart entered Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry on September 1st, 1975, and was 4 years below the Marauders. So he was actually there when the Marauders... Okay, so Nick, the Marauders were Harry's parents and their friend group.
Okay, that was my
So he was there when... Yeah, Gilderoy was 4 years younger than Harry's parents.
Gotcha.
He was placed into Ravenclaw, but did, quote, narrowly escape from being sorted into Slytherin. Once again, it's kind of interesting because this is a parallel with Harry. Harry ended up in Gryffindor, but he had to tell the Hat that he wanted to be in Gryffindor, not Slytherin. And Lockhart, from all accounts, apparently had that same situation where he could have ended up in or rather almost would have ended up in the house that symbolized all of dark wizardry and all of the not self-indulgent.
Talk about systemic racism, dude.
We do have Slytherin listeners.
All Slytherins are evil.
All Slytherins are evil, yes. So yeah, basically go ahead.
It's funny because Brooke is also a Slytherin Ravenclaw cusp, but I could not think of someone who's more opposite of a human being than Gilderoy Lockhart.
Very much so.
Like Gilderoy is all talk, no walk, and Brooke is all walk, no talk, you know?
I get that.
Maybe it's the difference between an extreme extrovert and I would say Brooke's an introvert, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe that's the difference in that set.
Wow.
I am definitely the epitome of a Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Harry Potter, but I am a Hufflepuff at heart.
I can completely corroborate that. Like, that's 100% true.
Yes.
For sure. When Lockhart got to Hogwarts, he assumed he would walk in and that everyone from peers to professors would see him as the gorgeous genius he thought himself to be. He thought walking down the halls, he would hear people whispering about how special he was. This, of course, did not happen since he was only slightly above average at best. There were many students who eclipsed him in his talent and ability. But we can't gloss over what he wanted. He wanted people talking about him. He didn't want to learn to be educated. He wanted to learn to get praise and attention. This is a trend that will definitely be continuing as we go on through his life. So once again, he didn't want to simply be famous. He wanted to be famous because he liked what it brought. It liked the people talking about him. Mm-hmm. So it's almost a pure desire for fame. He doesn't want, it doesn't seem like he wants the riches that come with it. He wants to be known.
Yeah, like a household name. He wants the attention of people talking about him. And it's just, again, it's just foreshadowing. You can't convince someone they're so amazing when it reminds me of when really, really shitty people go on American Idol and they're like, my whole family told me I was great. And it's like, how? How did anyone tell you that? And how did you believe them?
Honestly,
who let you in here?
I work at a small press and we get books like that all the time where it's like, everyone I know has told me this book's incredible. And I'm like, well, you don't know what is a question and what is a statement. So
yeah, you can't write a book if you don't know your ass from your elbow. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
That's not how it works.
Right. Well, and one thing that's important to remember about Lockhart is that while he's not next level talented, he is talented. Mm-hmm. So it's almost the worst case scenario for that, because he's got just enough talent that he can convince himself that he's way more talented than he is. It's almost like if anyone has ever tried to lose weight and you start losing a little bit of weight, you start thinking like, all right. You start multiplying in your head. You're like, okay, it's been 2 months and I've lost 10 pounds. So by Christmas, I'm going to be 30 pounds down from that.
Never works.
Yeah. It's the same problem. It's the same problem. You're assuming all this stuff about yourself. And the problem with having it be about like your power and your ability is that until it's questioned, until it actually is shown to not be there, you can maintain that illusion. We also know that Gilderoy had this trait where he would not really attempt something unless he was fairly certain he was going to be the best at it. His teachers did say that if he actually worked hard, he could possibly make something of himself. Unfortunately, though, the second most important personality trait for Lockhart, behind his drive for fame, is his laziness. It's kind of crazy, actually, because he had these crazy ambitions he would tell people about very publicly, and then never really try to achieve them.
Sounds like my exes.
Well, you're probably asking yourself, like, what goals could he want to achieve that would be so lofty and very obvious that he didn't achieve them, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I know none of these are going to make sense to you, Nick, but I will explain them after I list.
Lay them on me.
Yeah. So he kept telling people, quote, that he would succeed in creating the Philosopher's Stone before leaving school, and that he intended to captain England's Quidditch team to World Cup glory before knuckling down to become Britain's youngest minister for magic.
That just sounds like Trump to me. It's going to be huge, y'all.
Well, once remember, Gilderoy does have a little bit of talent, so it's not exactly like Trump.
Touche.
But yeah, so to break those down for you individually, the Philosopher's Stone, have you ever heard of that from alchemy at all?
Honestly, no.
Oh, you need to brush up on your alchemy.
I remember Sorcerer's Stone, but that's not the same thing as now.
Well, actually it is.
It is?
Yes. So,
one for Nick.
The Philosopher's Stone is actually a thing from history. So in like the Middle Ages and medieval era and stuff, the study of alchemy was one of the big goals of it was to find this Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone. And so they called it the Philosopher's Stone. And what it is it's a stone that has the power to basically grant you eternal life, and also can do other neat little side tricks like turning lead into gold and fantastical things like that. Yeah. It is in the Harry Potter universe. It was made by a guy named Nicholas Flamel, but he made it like 700 years ago.
Oh, God.
So there's only one in existence, and Gilderoy is basically saying, like, I'm going to do this thing that people took hundreds of years to figure out how to do before I graduate school. Yeah. And then immediately, easy stuff. Then immediately upon graduating, he wanted to captain England's Quidditch team. Quidditch?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I know that one.
And then they have a World Cup. So there is a Quidditch World Cup. So he wanted to then be the top athlete in his nation, and arguably the world, before knuckling down to become a political success as the Minister for Magic, which is their version of the Prime Minister.
That's
So
just like a list of like all the things.
I was going to say exactly. Like, I just want to find the most extreme success that I can out of every realm, and I'm going to do them all before I even graduate because I'm that bitch. But
Exactly.
like, are you though? Are you? Did your mommy set you up to fail? Uh-oh.
And mind you, the guy that's saying all this stuff is like, I guess the equivalent would be like a B+ student. Like,
Yeah.
a kid that knows his stuff, but you're like, dude, you're not even as good as that girl. Like,
Yeah, right.
why do you think you're going to do any of this?
I've seen proof that you're not the greatest here, let alone anywhere. So you're going to do it in the world? Like, again, good luck.
Yeah, this is the small pond of Hogwarts.
Yeah.
There's many small ponds, and you're not even the leader of this one. So where are you getting this from? But of course, we know that he got it because of ego and a lust for fame.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately for Lockhart and his ego, he never really got popular with his fellow students, though he did have a few exploits that gained him some notoriety. At various times, he earned 2 weeks' detention for carving his name into the Quidditch pitch in 20-foot-long letters, sent himself 800 valentines, causing breakfast to be canceled due to owl shit, and even invented a spell that sent a hologram of his face into the sky in imitation of the Dark Mark.
Oh my god.
That
Tupac.
might, yeah. You might have heard it, Christina there, Nick. The Dark Mark, the reason that got an oh my god is because that is what Voldemort would send up into the sky, the biggest baddie of the day and age. That's his trademark, is the Dark Mark. He sends
He's like
up,
magical.
That's his bat symbol.
yeah, his reverse bat symbol.
I got-
His,
okay,
look
yeah.
what I did. Yeah.
I see. His
So-
beacon of destruction.
Yeah,
Right,
his
so-
his like calling card.
Literally,
yes, okay.
yeah, it's what he did when he murdered people, and it's the
Okay.
same symbol that all of his followers had branded onto them.
Oh.
So, or tattooed onto them would be more accurate. But it's a skull with a snake coming out of the mouth. It's like a really like.
I feel like I've seen that before.
You probably
Yeah.
have. So Lockhart sees this thing that literally, whenever it's in the sky, it means mayhem and death and sadness, and he's like, "That's a good idea." And to his credit, while he's in school, he creates a spell that will send his face to the heavens. It's once again, it's impressive, but really fucked up.
I have seen that before. Honestly, I think my friend Amber has that tattooed on her, if I'm not mistaken.
This is like what the tattoo usually looks like.
Yeah, dude, I think I have seen that. I'm gonna have to creep some more. But this reminds me of people that like, and I hate to admit that I'm this way, but if you have a little bit of talent but a hell of a lot of ego, you're really not that special to me, and I kind of am rooting for you to fail.
Yeah, it's that,
Like-
what is it, the Dunning-Kruger effect? Where
It's like
if
the
you-
opposite of an underdog. Like, I'm like, you're kind of a dick. Shut up about it.
Yeah, it's where I might have this completely wrong. I think it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's where if you have a little bit of knowledge on something, statistically you will respond as having far more knowledge on it than you do. Whereas if you have the more knowledge you have on a subject, the less likely you are to respond that you have knowledge on it. So what that means is that if you ask a regular, normal, everyday person, and I mean, my degree's in political science. This is literally the best example of it. If you ask someone, how much do you know about government? If they know a minimal amount, they're likely to say they know a lot. If you ask someone with a PhD, how much do you know about government? They're more likely to undersell their credentials.
Absolutely.
It happens on the internet all the time. You know,
Yes,
people
well-
are like,
You said that, and I kind of think about my own habits of like, I don't know, things in the past, and I'm like, I know something about this, and I feel like I kind of drag it out just naturally, and I'm like, where are you getting all this from, girl?
Everyone
Yeah.
just feels like they're failing each other if they don't have something to contribute to the conversation. So
That's
it's like
Right.
just be okay being like, oh, I don't fucking know.
That's me at this point. Like, I'm vulnerable about it. If I don't know anything, I'd much rather tell you so you can educate me on it instead of being like, oh yeah, I know things about stuff.
well, and of course, this can get very dark and very bad too, because it leads to things like anti-vaxxers, because they'll read just a little bit of stuff, and with that very surface level knowledge of a topic,
They'll run with it.
they'll declare themselves experts because, 3 hours on Google with a glass of wine equates to a doctorate.
We love Karen.
Okay, you just described my whole life, Andrew. So.
Oh, man. After leaving Hogwarts, first of all, obviously he did not succeed in his first task or his second. He did not create the Sorcerer's Stone before leaving, and he did not immediately go on to captain the British Quidditch World Cup team.
One question, though.
Yes.
With him shooting his face into the sky, what was the general reaction to that? Especially if everyone knew that it was so, horrifying to begin with.
Yeah, it doesn't say. I would imagine horror is the right word, though.
I would assume.
It's like seeing a swastika. It's like, dude, we don't joke about this.
You know what?
Okay,
it would be?
I get that.
I maybe it wouldn't be quite like that. It would probably be like, remember when Justin Bieber did the thing with Anne Frank's house where he was like, Anne Frank would have been a believer, and people were like, dude, that's fucked up.
I did not know that happened, but I'm so glad you educated me to that because that's fucking funny. I'm sorry. What the hell was he thinking?
And I think that's the perfect thing is that I think that in his mind, he probably thought this will be really impressive. People will see it and they'll be like, you did it. But of course, what people actually think is why? That's so morose, of all the things to copy.
It's just you shouldn't take someone else's story and make it your story. You know what I mean?
It pisses me off when people do that with tweets, let alone actual writing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, after leaving Hogwarts, Lockhart leaned into his talent potential and coupled it with his vanity to create a magical shampoo. It was incredibly powerful, and it guaranteed luscious locks of hair. It's noted that this claim is one of the few claims he will ever make that is actually factual, but more on that later. Unfortunately for Lockhart, while the shampoo was amazing, one of its main ingredients was alchemy egg, which was also so dangerous that no one was willing to produce, market, or sell his shampoo.
Oh my God. Leave it to a boring man to make a 3-in-1 shampoo product.
Yeah, right. Well, and we'll get into this later on, but Lockhart, like I said, vanity is incredible with this guy. And he, in the movie, he is played by Kenneth Branagh. So, a very done up, very...
I'll have to Google.
I'll get a picture.
Yeah, if you can pull up a picture, Tina, that would be great. Because he is a pretty boy. He is definitely a pretty boy. And he's a very entitled, very egotistical, very vain, white male pretty boy.
Yeah.
Okay, just for the record, the character is, but Kenneth Branagh is a gentleman and a scholar. Okay.
I'm excited to see.
Wait, I'm finding him in character. I didn't type out. Okay, Lockhart. Just pretend like I was really prepared like they always are in Behind the Bastards.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're doing a great job, Sophie. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay, see, he's beautiful.
Yeah, I like his little curly hair.
Yeah, he definitely has excellent. Here's a better one. Okay, Nick. Okay, so here he is painting. Do you see what he's painting?
Is it him?
He's painting a picture of him painting a picture of him.
Yes.
Holy crap, dude. Selfie on selfie on selfie. I want to recreate that now of myself. Does that make me vain too? So, at this point that we're talking about now, how old is he?
I'm not exactly sure. I would guess with the shampoo, he's probably early 20s.
That's what I was going to say too. Okay.
Somewhere around there. I could do the math. Well, give me a second.
No, that's all right. Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
What you said the shampoo is dangerous?
Yeah, so they don't go into detail, but
what is it, exploding shampoo?
That's kind of the impression that I got, is that it's a potential exploding shampoo because they don't say the exact danger itself, but if it was in the shampoo, it couldn't be poison. That wouldn't make sense. So
I was is it just toxic or?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be a general toxicity because they said that people. Well, they said that users weren't willing to risk its results for the vanity because of how dangerous it was. So obviously, it was dangerous enough that people were like, "I don't care how good this is; it's not worth it."
When I was in college, I went through a phase where I used egg eggs as shampoo. And that was dangerous because if you used hot water, you'd have scrambled eggs in
I've done that before. I've done that. We made a whole thing with oil and eggs and blah, blah. We heated it up, and then I had scrambled eggs in my thick-ass hair.
God.
It was disgusting. But then, let me tell y'all, my hair was as soft as it's ever been. I had to shampoo it 6 times, but it was worth it. Not dangerous, though. Didn't explode, so it wasn't his shampoo.
It was not his shampoo, that's for sure. Now, Nick, if he had just made a shampoo that could potentially explode on you or cause some sort of damage, that would be one thing. But it would not be enough to make him a bastard, in my opinion.
Fair enough. There's more to come.
The big break for Lockhart, though, came when he started writing books. He developed his pattern for taking these trips to exotic lands and then coming back with these fantastic stories, telling of amazing adventures and deeds he had done. Now, Nick, it's hard to tell exactly how big these books were, but we know they made him famous and popular enough for him to get a slew of awards, including an Order of Merlin 3rd Class, becoming an honorary member of the Dark Forces Defense League, and being a 5-time winner of Witch Weekly's Best Smile Award.
Oh, God.
Yes. Now, I have prepared a list here of the books that he put out in this time period. And you will see the titles are very self-explanatory, and they tend to be either narratives or guidebooks.
Okay.
So we have Break with a Banshee, Gadding with Ghouls, Holidays with Hags, Marauding with Monsters, Travels with Trolls, Voyages with Vampires, Wanderings with Werewolves, Year with the Yeti. He also has Gilderoy Lockhart's Guide to Household Pests. He has 101 Practical Uses for Bertie Bott's Every Flavor Beans. And he also has his autobiography called Magical Me.
So it's safe to say that he wrote the Magic Treehouse books as well, correct?
How dare you? How dare you?
You know who else didn't write the Magic Treehouse books?
Who's that?
The following products and services.
Products?
Hey there, it's me, Christina. This is an ad. What's it an ad for? I don't know. We don't sell ad space, but Behind the Bastards takes ads, so we wanted to do an ad break. Have you called your grandma recently? You should call her. She'd love to hear from you. If you don't have a grandma in your life, then call your friend who lives in Wisconsin. You haven't talked to her in a while. Miss you, Laura. Oh, what else? You should change your sheets. You're supposed to change those every couple of weeks, and I bet you haven't done it recently, so try that. Also, pet a dog. That'll make you feel good. Thanks for listening.
We're back. Now, if Lockhart had published these and the accounts had just been fake, then his grifting ass would be bad, but not quite a full-fledged bastard. Unfortunately, though, remember that he's incredibly lazy?
Yes.
Too lazy, in fact, to lie or to make up his own stories. So how do you think he got these stories, Nick?
That's what I was going to ask, is I feel like he's not really taking his ass to these places. It reminds me of, like, Columbus, where he's like, you found this? I found this. This is mine. Hello. Like,
it's like that meme of the person handing the person their present, saying, like,
you made this,
look at what I made.
This.
I made this. Exactly.
Yep,
oh,
exactly. Yeah, and leave it to a cishat white man to do some shit like that.
No, right? I'm going to awkwardly stare over here really quick. So you're close, but not quite evil enough. So Lockhart, like I said, he does have a very unique set of skills, but not in a Liam Neeson type way, more in a grifting asshole type way. And one of his skills is the ability to find people, because he's a very charismatic person. So what Lockhart would do is he would go to these exotic areas, and by exotic, code word far away, not anywhere in Britain. Mm-hmm. And he would find these locals who would have these crazy stories. He would go to bars and pubs, and he would sit down with people, and being a charismatic person, he would talk to them, and he would hear like, oh, well, you need to go talk to this guy. He's got a great story, And what he would do is he would go to find the people, get these stories, and they're incredible stories, but they're not his stories.
Absolutely. So he would take credit for other people's life stories.
He would take credit, and he would also erase their memories.
Oh, shit.
So in a very, very harsh theft of IP, what Lockhart, he was very skilled at memory charm. So what he would do is he would literally all along the way, find these people. And as he finds them, he would, in the pub, talk to the guy that says, you need to go talk to this guy. We'll just erase his memory. He never talked to you. Go talk to the guy that did the thing, erase his memory. He doesn't remember talking to you. He doesn't remember doing it. So he is literally stealing the very stories of these people's lives.
I didn't even think that was a possibility. And obviously I know that people can't see my face, but I dead ass was like, what? You what? Like that's an option here? Because at that point you have nothing to contest. Like you can't, no one to be like, oh, that's my story. What the fuck? You can't do this. It's like, oh man, that guy wrote a real great story. I wish I knew who did this.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, he's talented. He's not, we got to keep constantly remember this about the guy. Lockhart is talented, but even when he's talented, he's not top level. He's like an 8 or a 9 in certain areas. Okay. So he is very gifted with memory charms. And this is something that happens in the Harry Potter universe. Certain people do tend to be more gifted at other things. Fair Unfortunately, enough. He happened to be gifted at memory charms, and he also happened to have this horrible concoction of personality where he has the ego, he has the vanity, he is the biggest whore for attention the world has ever seen. He has no morals. He thinks he's the best. And he's good at memory charms. It's just, it is just not
a shitstorm.
Yeah, it's not a good combination.
No. Oh, dude, I think I just need to take a second to take that in because, like, again, never heard of anything like that ever happening before. Yeah. But also, what the fuck? Like,
I mean, like, that's just really like extreme gaslighting, honestly. Just
precisely, exactly.
Never happened.
Well, and there are definite undertones here that when he says he's going to exotic lands, I mean, we're usually pretty honest on our podcast. What this really means is that a white man is going to less developed places that won't have as much access to the material once he puts it out. So
it's a white savior complex kind of deal.
Completely.
Imperialism, like, yeah.
100%.
Plus, he's capitalizing off of these people's stories without giving them any sort of credit. So you've got the capitalistic tie to it as well.
Oh, and not only not giving them credit, he is stealing any chance of them getting credit because they don't even know that they deserve credit.
To some extent, like, if you think about it from more of a compassionate standpoint, I feel like if other people are telling you specifically to go and speak to these people, the stories that you're taking from them may be all their life purposes or what they really feel like they've accomplished or what makes them them. And then if you take that, like, you're taking people's identity as well.
Oh, it absolutely is. It is completely stealing their identity, 100%. And that's why he targeted these he would go to these remote villages, little towns, faraway places. And, if you only have 50 people in the village, then it doesn't matter how big the book is, you're probably not going to see it.
Yeah.
Or if you do, by the time that you see it, and this is the even worse part, is by the time that you see it,
doesn't matter.
Your 50 people in your village are going to be like, no, this guy did it, but that guy doesn't even know that he did it.
Yep, exactly. He can't even fight for himself.
Yeah, it's horrible how well thought out this plan is.
Well, and it all works in cogs together where it's like they all go hand in hand to kind of drive one another,
Yeah, and it's very sad because you need something, you need an incredible bump in the road to deter that cart. It's already rolling and you need something huge. Let's see if that happens.
Everything with his family and like I don't know. I always try to like analyze things like this, and especially I feel like even just people in general, I'm like, what made you act the way you are? And even in my own life, when I'm introspective, I look back on things and I'm like, oh God, that one thing that my mom did is why I do this now. And so like seeing his story come to life and seeing how things all just kind of feed into this narcissistic, evil point blank. Like, I don't know. I'm excited to see where else this goes, but Not my kind of guy.
Now, this grift was making him some serious money and bringing him incredible fame. It was not without risk, though, no matter how well Lockhart tried to snip any loose ends. At the time he was putting these books out, Albus Dumbledore was the headmaster of Hogwarts. In 1989, to build up some additional press, Lockhart announced to the world that he would randomly select 6 students from Hogwarts to come to Flourish and Blotts for a book signing.
That's some Willy Wonka shit.
I know, right? 6
Gold
random students, yes. After the signing, he told the students that they would be made special guests and coordinators of a Valentine's Day event at Madame Puttyfoot's tea shop.
No, not
Yes.
Madame Puttyfoot's.
At Madame Puttyfoot's.
My favorite scene, I've said this before, my favorite scene from the whole book series happens in Madame Puttyfoot's, and it didn't make it into the movies. And Nick, it's literally just the most awkward date you've ever seen in your life. It's the most unmagical moment. And it happens on Valentine's Day in the worst tea shop in the world.
Oh my god. Yeah, I don't think I'd go to somewhere that sounds like Pottyfoot. I think I'm gonna pass on that.
I definitely don't want those two things together.
Yeah, don't have the potty tea. That's not what
right.
you want. That sounds like a euphemism, and I'm just not into that lifestyle.
I think I would especially stay away from the boba there. No floaters in my potty tea, thank you.
Now, Lockhart was calling this event Voyages, Vampires, and Valentines. Isn't that lovely?
He's such an alliteration hoe.
He really is. He's a hoe for that. In reality, the event was going to be an opportunity to source material for future books from students. Luckily, a couple of students involved figured out what his plan was, and he was forced to leave the event to avoid being exposed. This would have probably been enough to alert Dumbledore of the fuckery afoot, but to make things worse for Lockhart, Dumbledore actually knew 2 of the wizards he had stolen the stories from. So,
oh shit.
Yeah, Dumbledore actually, by chance, knew of the legends and knew of these 2 people, and it kind of makes sense because Dumbledore is an international figure. He is on all these international bodies. He is as world-renowned as you can be as a wizard. This kind of makes sense, though, because if you're Dumbledore and you're an internationally famous wizard, if you go anywhere, people are going to want to tell you that story of the great deed that the dude in their village did, you know, and you probably would follow up. Why not? If travel is instantaneous, then why not do it all the time, you know? So it's likely that it's not as crazy to think that Dumbledore might have heard these same stories, you know?
Absolutely.
Plus, I think we've all heard urban legends that you hear about someone doing, and there's always that one person who claims that they did it. If that makes sense.
People even do that now. All they want to do is talk about themselves and things they've accomplished, whether it be like, I don't know, Facebook and Twitter, like, I'm eating cereal, or like, like I said, what people think that they are the most proud of. You know, people will tell you about themselves. I don't know.
So, well, like I said, Dumbledore, he knew 2 of the wizards that Lockhart had stolen from. So he hatched one of his great plans to expose Lockhart. He would get him to take a job teaching at the school, since such an environment would be a public stage for Lockhart to expose himself on for his own fault. So basically, if I put him in this platform, he's going to fail. He's going to make an ass of himself, basically.
Well, it's like you already know what he's doing, so you just put the pieces together for him to show himself out, you know?
Exactly. And Dumbledore definitely understands him as a person, as we're going to see here, because when he approached Lockhart, the con man didn't want the job. Dumbledore then used a tactic he would drag out again in 4 years and name-dropped a student to court a teacher. Dumbledore implied to Lockhart that being the teacher to the great Harry Potter would send his fame to unimaginable heights. Given his ego, and not thinking about how this hadn't happened to any of Harry's current teachers, Lockhart agreed to the role. He made it his mission to not just be known as Harry Potter's teacher, but to become his mentor. Mentor in heavy quotes there, by the way. He likely wanted to turn Harry as vain and attention-driven as he was, thinking it would help him out in some sort of fucked up multi-level fame marketing system. You know, like, all of your fame will be funneled through me because I'm the one who gave you fame. That's the only thing I can think of. Is that's
Mr. Tentacles has so much talent that maybe he'll rub it on me.
Exactly.
That's not the quote, but you know what the fuck I'm talking about. Thanks, SpongeBob.
At hearing that Lockhart would be the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, staff members who remembered Lockhart from his own time at Hogwarts were confused, to say the least. I can only imagine what McGonagall and Snape's reactions to hearing this would be, especially considering Snape's personal desires. Now, Nick, what I mean there is that so McGonagall is a very stern, very no-nonsense, like badass bitch at Hogwarts. She's one of my favorite teachers that's in the whole book series. And so for her to hear this, she would have to be like, "What the hell are you thinking, Albus?" But
Absolutely.
for Snape, it's even deeper because Snape is kind of he's one of Harry's constant like foils, essentially. Like he's a character that is presented in a way as to not be liked. And I'm wording myself very carefully here because I know that Christina's about 2 seconds away from shouting at me because I'm very pro Snape in the end.
He hates this kid. He hates Harry from the time comes to school when he's 11. He's like, I fucking hate you. And then for the whole rest of his school, he's like, I hate you, kid. You can never do anything right. And fuck you and fuck your dad.
That's me at my job, y'all. My boss is Snape. What happened?
Yeah, and probably the same thing that happened to Snape happened because what happens is that Snape has one job that he really wants, which is the Defense Against the Dark Arts role. But Dumbledore won't let him have it. And there's a lot of backstory there, and most of our listeners probably know that. You don't need to know what it is. He wanted that job. And so not only does he get passed over for it again, but on top of that, it's this guy that he remembers from being 4 years young, because he was at school at the same time that Harry's parents were. Okay. So he would have been just 4 years older than Lockhart as well. And so he has all these memories of this fucking egotistical, fame whore that has no, incredible amount of talent. He's like, why the hell are we bringing him here?
Yeah, exactly. And like, why are you passing me over to give this job to him? Like, no.
Exactly. So some
fuckboy.
Yeah, exactly. Over his time as Harry's teacher, Lockhart tried to implement his plan, unknowingly setting Dumbledore's plan in motion. As the year progressed, Lockhart continuously showed his lack of most practical magical knowledge for all to see. Events ranging from failing to topple pixies, misidentifying the cause of Miss Norris's petrification, or even that she was still alive, and removing all of the bones in one of Harry's arms.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Stealing bones, stealing memories, stealing stories.
Yeah. Stealing bones, stealing stories. That sounds like a great blues song.
That scene was like so traumatizing to me when I was a kid.
Oh, God, yeah. And
it's
the movie was awful.
The movie makes it worse because you see it with your own eyes.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, so like in the Pixies thing, so Nick, in one of the most famous like scenes of the series, in my opinion, he lets out all of these pixies into the class after telling the class this like charm that's supposed to help you, fight them. And the charm does nothing. It's not a real charm. And so he has a classroom full of dozens of these pixies and all these like, 12-year-old kids. They're like, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
It's like the gif of Oprah giving bees to everybody. Like,
yeah, exactly. And just like, well, not like in that gif, he does not stick around. So everyone flees. It's the trio and Neville, and he's like, y'all got this. Just finish him off for me, and bails. He bails. He just leaves. Yeah.
Like that. That's the thing, though, is I feel like in every story so far, it has been very evident that he does not finish the job. He like either plucks it from somewhere else or just bullshits his way through it, or he believes in himself enough that he thinks everyone else will too. But that can only last for so long.
Yeah, and he's one of those people that would have been immediately discredited if cell phones were a thing with like web access, because
absolutely
all of his shit is a Google away, because it's obvious that all of his knowledge that he has, he either only knows the idea of it, like he doesn't have the practical knowledge. He might know a spell, but he's never done the spell.
Okay, I see.
So even if the spell's
almost
right,
book smart versus street smart, like
right. But even then, it's a very select book smart that he actually has, and he just bullshits everything else. So I mean, we all know that person who will like say something in conversation, and you just stop and you're like, wait, what? No,
right.
Like,
elaborate, please.
Yeah. Or even better, if you know that it's not right, and you just have that moment where it's like, I don't know how to politely say this, but no, you're wrong. Like,
how do I tell you that that's wrong?
There's no social convention for this, but you're saying something wrong and I need people to know that it's wrong. So this is my way of doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's basically what he does.
So with the things that he was trying to show, like with the pixies and stuff like that, were those things that people before him had already accomplished, or something that was like common, like, or was he just trying to be like grand and extra and show off?
So they're all kind of different situations, but the first one, the pixies, that's just a class. That's just him being like, this is how I will conduct my class. I'll unleash a horde of Cornish pixies on students, because that's a cool thing to do to 12-year-olds.
I'd be pissed. And like my extent of pixies is like the Fairly Odd Parents, and they were like businessmen. So I'm like, these fucking little square dudes running around.
These pixies are different.
I was gonna say I need a little bit more information. Like,
they're crazy.
They're like an insectoid pixie, like a little gremlin insectoid. Like, they're not like, they don't have like, insect parts, but they fly. They look like almost like miniature goblins in a way.
I think they do have like antenna.
Yeah, they're unique in the way that they're portrayed, but they're not friendly. They're obviously menacing, like outwardly menacing.
Okay, fair enough. So if like essentially it would make sense for them to be fucking scared. Oh God, no. You know what it looks like, that fucking thing? Oh God, what was it? Crazy Frog or whatever? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
yeah.
What's going on?
Exactly. That's what it looks like to me.
And
this pixie's face looks like Willem Dafoe, or is that just me? God. Just kind of like,
oh my gosh. Yeah, and then the petrification. So Mrs. Norris is a cat that gets petrified.
Okay.
So like, almost turned to stone, not physically turned to stone, but immobilized essentially. Yes. And as soon as he sees it, he's just like, oh, I know exactly what killed her. It was this curse. And, it's a shame that I wasn't here, because I happen to know the very counter curse. So, not only is he misidentifying what even happened, because the cat's not even dead, but he then bullshits knowing what curse it was that did it, which there's no evidence as to why that would be. And then third, he's like, and you know what? I just happen to know the counter curse, which it's
doesn't say it, though. It's just like, y'all should have called me.
Right, and there's no way to prove it. So it's a claim that he can make that you can't even check him on, except for that you can prove that the cat's still alive, because Dumbledore can just plainly see it's still alive after examining it. And then, of course, he's a liar. He's a chronic liar. And we all have met people like that constantly say bullshit like that. So I think we all have an image in our head of someone like Lockhart. Not to the same extent, hopefully, but like them, Absolutely. I feel like in the stories that you've told so far, I have so many different examples of different people, different walks of life, but so many similarities to the things. I mean, obviously not all examples are as evil, but definitely as egotistical and narcissistic and just unaware, just blatantly unaware of their importance in other people's lives. Yes.
Raise your hand if you've ever been personally victimized by a chronic liar.
Hands up.
It's unanimous.
Oh, it's unanimous. Wow. Crazy. You would have seen that coming.
Open your eyes. Look around. See how many other people have their hands raised.
Look to your left. Look to your right. Both of those people were victimized by chronic liars. Yeah, and then the bones thing. So Harry breaks his wrist in a Quidditch match. And when he lands, he's like, ow, my wrist is broken. And Lockhart runs up and is like, don't worry, I can fix that right here. And to his credit, Harry's like, no, we got the nurse who does things like this.
Yeah, like, this isn't your job, sir.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll go to her. And he's like, nonsense. And he does this Barachius Mendo, I think is what the spell is, something like that. And he does this huge wave of his wand, and the only thing that happens is that every bone in his arm is removed. So every bone in his forearm is just not there, and it can flop back and forth. And then he has to go to the nurse, who says something along the lines of like, "I can fix bones in a second, but regrow them? Oh, you're in for a painful night." So yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. So instead of like a 3-second charm, Harry has to go through a night of feeling his bones regrow, which I can only imagine how lovely that must be.
Oh my!
Like
God,
just
dude.
now realizing that they don't. I mean, they never get painkillers.
Yeah, like how do you deal with that?
She's like, here, go to sleep. But like, Harry fucks himself up a lot and goes to the hospital a lot, and she never gives him any painkillers.
See, and like to me, I'm like, okay, you're a wizard, you can just heal yourself. Which is, bing, I'm fine. Like that's not how it works.
No, it's like
They still have
elaborate.
hospitals.
It depends on what causes it, because they do go into like, if there are certain accidents that it does seem like they can kind of easily undo, because like one of the worst ones, it actually seems pretty easy. That's a splinching.
Okay.
Because like splinching is when two people apparate, which is disappearing from one place and reappearing in another.
Mm-hmm.
And if you splinch yourself, it means that like part of you didn't make the journey.
Got it. Okay.
But it does sound like they're actually pretty capable of fixing things like that. If it is magical, dark magical damage, there definitely seems to be a recovery process.
Okay.
Although they do seem to have healing potions, because I know that when Hermione gets attacked by Dolohov in the Department of Mystery, this means nothing to you, Nick, but Christine, I do know that when she gets attacked by Dolohov, they talk about how she had to take like pain potions and stuff. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, she got like straight up
she got fucked up.
like it's kind of like in Lord of the Rings when fucking Frodo gets stabbed with that like Witch King knife or whatever, and it doesn't hurt him physically, but like spiritually it's like he got stabbed with a knife. That's like what happens to Hermione.
Okay, so it's almost like her magic was shook. Like
Yeah, it
She just like got
it's
ice.
like a magical, what the effect of the spell was kind of like a magical axe coming down. That's the way I've always described it. And then it definitely caused physical damage, but it fucked with her magic too. Like
definitely.
This all culminated when Ginny Weasley was taken into the Chamber of Secrets. Since Lockhart had been bragging about how he knew where the chamber was and how to defeat the monster within it, he was tasked with the rescue. Now, Nick, once again, I'm sure you have a few questions here.
I do, yes.
So the Chamber of Secrets is a place that was put into the Hogwarts castle by one of its founders. Think of him as the ultimate like white nationalist, basically.
Fair enough.
Because he was like, the only people that should come to my school are pure-blooded wizards. Purest of bloods, in fact. None of those half-bloods, real bad. Yeah, so... And so the legend is that he created this chamber and then he put a monster in it, because no good legend or no legend is complete without a monster.
Absolutely.
And the monster would only serve the heir of Slytherin, who would come back in the future and would unleash the monster on the non-pureblood people of Hogwarts.
Jesus and white people, I see. All right.
Yes, very much so. So the chamber has been opened. And Ginny Weasley, Ron Harry's best friend.
Yeah.
It's his sister who is taken down into the chamber.
I have a little bit of like knowledge about the Weasleys, but I don't know a whole lot. So how did she get put in there in the first place? Did he have something to do with that, or did they just put him with the rescue?
Yes, there's not Gilderoy, but there's a huge plot. That's basically the plot of the second book. Is that Ginny ends up in the Chamber of Secrets. She's just a victim of circumstance and very bad circumstances. But all that you need to know is that she is in this chamber. There's a monster in this chamber. And now, because Lockhart was like making all these subtle things about, well, not so subtle probably, about, I know where the entrance is and I figured out how we could take care of this. And of course now the chickens have come home to roost and he's like, okay, so you want me to actually go and get this girl? And Harry and Ron, if I remember correctly, they were listening in to the meeting between the teachers at
in the staff room. That I remember that because the good teachers were like, "Oh yeah, Gilderoy, you said you know exactly how to do this. Why don't you go do this?" Oh
yeah, call him on his shit. Like
get out of our hair so we can solve this, basically.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you have the solution. All right, put your money where your mouth is, dude.
Yeah, and so he says that he need to go off to prepare. And so he went off to prepare, which in reality meant to try and beat a hasty escape. Now, he was caught by Ron and Harry in the act when they went to tell him what they knew of the chamber and its monster. So they had figured out basically where it was and what all the stuff that, Lockhart had claimed, except for how to beat it. Okay. And so they were like, well, he's an adult. We think he's an idiot, but maybe he could be helpful. If nothing else, he's the only one who is going down in there, so we will tell him what we know. Of course, it would have been much more sensible to go to, like, Dumbledore and say, we know this, or even just crash the whole staff meeting and say, like, we know this.
Yeah, like, tell the people who need to know, not just the guy that's making an ass of himself, but all right.
Yeah, but
that's like the whole Harry Potter MO is never tell the people in charge, just handle it yourself.
But then Harry did something both incredibly brave and incredibly stupid. It is the summary of Harry Potter.
Okay.
Yeah, so they went to basically give Lockhart this information. When they did this, and they caught him, packing up his trunk and trying to leave, Lockhart revealed to them that he was a fraud, and then told them that he would have to erase their memories as well. Harry disarmed him the same way that Snape had in the dueling club meeting. And the two boys forced him to come with them into the chamber. What I'm referencing there is, at one point, Lockhart decided to start up a dueling club because this Chamber of Secrets was being threatened to be open. And at the dueling club, Snape volunteers to be his assistant. And they decide to put on a mock duel, and Snape just hands his ass to him.
Damn.
He uses the spell Expelliarmus, which goes on to become like Harry's bread and butter. He doesn't realize it, but he learns it from fucking Snape. But it is his like go-to thing because he doesn't want to kill people. He just wants to disarm them, right?
Absolutely. It's his pepper spray.
Yeah, so Snape just like casually disarms Lockhart, and Lockhart's like, good example. And if I knew what you were trying to show them, so I went along. Now, of course, obviously, if I didn't want you to disarm me, you wouldn't have. So even kind of like weasels out there.
Oh, God.
Yeah, but Harry uses that same spell in the first time in a long series of events of him doing this, and he takes his wand. So, they force him to go down into the chamber with them. Once inside, Lockhart used a ruse to wrestle Ron's wand away from him. Lockhart told the boys he was going to use a powerful enough memory charm on them to essentially scramble their brains. So he's going to, just absolutely destroy them. And his plan is to literally, there's a piece of the monster is a basilisk, which is a giant snake that can like kill you just by looking at you and has this incredibly toxic venom. So a real big bad monster. But when they get into the chamber, there's this it's shedded skin. And so they have this huge, shedded skin. And Lockhart's plan is, I'm going to grab a piece of the skin. I'm going to destroy your memories. Say that I was too late to save Jenny or get her body, and then bring you up that when you saw what it had done to her horrible, mangled body, that you just lost your minds.
Oh my God.
So, not only was he going to steal the story, he wasn't going to fix anything. He was going to leave the monster and not get Jenny's body, and then bring them back completely messed up.
Exactly.
Yes.
No memory of it at all.
Now, I've kind of hid something from you here. I said that he wrestled Ron's wand away from him. Well, there's a problem with that. You see, unfortunately for Lockhart, Ron had broken his wand at the beginning of the year. When they get to Hogwarts that year, they have a car crash. They use a flying car. It's a whole big thing. And in the car crash, he breaks his wand. So Lockhart should have known this.
Yeah.
Like, he was his teacher the entire year. With him using this broken wand, not able to do anything right, but Lockhart grabs the wand, goes to cast the spell, and it backfires, leaving Lockhart in a permanent state of amnesia.
He got what he deserved.
He got his comeuppance.
Karma's a bitch, man.
Did.
I love that story.
This is not the last time we see Lockhart.
Okay.
So in the 5th book, we do see Lockhart one more time at the permanent spell damage ward of St. Mungo's, which is their magical hospital. Even in the state, it seems that Lockhart maintained his general persona of a celebrity, tragically signing autographs for fans that still mail him. So he still has these people that, will send him these fan letters, and he will send them back an autographed picture. Now, of course, he has no idea why they're his fans.
He's so exotic.
Yeah, at this point, he literally is just like, they love me. In a way, this is eternal bliss for Lockhart. He's got all these fans. He never has to do another thing. He is a permanent sad story. It's almost like, you know how every time that Chris Brown fucks up, his fans do not give a shit?
I was going to bring him up earlier, but I didn't want to disrespect Rihanna, and I didn't even want to speak his name, but I was going to say yes, because he has a little bit of talent. That motherfucker can dance, but, like, fuck him. He should have been canceled a long time ago. What the fuck?
Exactly. And so it's fucked up because, in a way, he kind of gets the ultimate ending to his story. He's actually a very happy person. He even published a final book.
Oh,
Nick, can you guess what he called his final book?
Oh God, shit! What the hell is that? Hold on, I have a thing. I'm thinking of the word amnesia at the asylum. I couldn't think of the word asylum. That was it.
Oh my gosh, that would have been amazing. Wow, that is so much better than what he actually called it, because what he actually called it is kind of tragic. Who am I?
Aw. Hey, that's the same thing that you did to all those other people. So, like, again, fuck you, man.
No sympathy, but it's sad.
Yeah.
And then, as is the curse with celebrity, though, while he still got many letters from fans, he reportedly never had any visitors, and thus cursed himself into a lonely and hollow last chapter of a public life composed of nothing but stolen stories. Oh. And that is where our story ends. So, Nick, how do you feel about Gilderoy Lockhart?
It's like, because I empathize, part of me is like, oh, that's real sad that he ended up all alone. But at the same time, like, you can't live your whole life thinking that you're fucking awesome, stealing things from everyone around you, making money and, you know, a path for yourself that's based in nothing. Like, shit will catch up with you, man. I have seen karma too many times that I'm like, yay, Alexa, this is my favorite song. Yeah, you remember nothing. You're great. And, like, I've been watching too much Sopranos because I'm like, that's Junior. That's what happens to him. It's fine. Like, you know, he gets what he deserved, man. But yeah, definitely a bastard. What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck?
And it's like, I hate that my main, like, not objective, but just, like, my main opinion is like, dude, his mom fucked him up.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and that's actually kind of a trend on Behind the Bastards, too. A lot of these people there's a common upbringing of struggle mixed with elevated praise.
I get that.
So a lot of these people that are the worst people in history feel like they're owed something but don't want to ever work for it, and then are told they're kind of owed something from the universe. It's kind of like a very negative and twisted version of the self-esteem movement, you know? Because I know all of us here are millennials. We've all been told at some point, like, well, the biggest problem with you is you were told that you're special when you're growing up. And it's like, well, no, that's not what we were told. We were told to celebrate our skills, and that, you know, we not that we're just generally special, but that there are things about you that make you special, like your personality and the way you treat people and who you are as a person, and, you know, all that jazz.
The uniqueness of you, not just the fact that, like, you know, everyone always jokes about, like, oh, there's no fucking participation prize, but it's like, that's not what I'm asking for, like, you know?
Right, and it's just, you know, and even then, what's wrong with a participation trophy, as long as it's explained, like, you get this because you stuck it out, you know? It's perseverance. It's not participation, it's perseverance. You showed up, you came, you did all the practices, you played the games. There's nothing wrong with giving a kid a trophy for that. Now, giving him a trophy that says, like, MVP, best player ever, when all he did was show up, or she did was show up, that's not a good thing. But just giving someone a participation trophy is not a bad thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Good.
Yeah, Lockhart's just one of these people who is constantly coddled and constantly told that the universe owes him something, and that the best thing he could ever be is special.
That's why you just sometimes gotta tell your kids how it is. You know, like, you're a little shit. You need to shut your mouth. I love you. Mommy loves you, but
mommy loves you, but shut the fuck up. I don't know. I've noticed that people with the shittiest kids are always the first one to tell you the most amazing things about them, and it's like, dude, I know this isn't true. Your kids know this isn't true, and eventually you're gonna have that conversation. But that's good luck.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, that's kind of where we're gonna end today. And Nick, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you learned a fair bit, I hope.
Yes, absolutely.
Since all this was new. Now, Tina, what about you? Was there anything new in here that you weren't expecting, or anything that you didn't previously know?
Yeah, honestly, like, you started out Okay, you started right off with like really learning that his two older siblings were squibs, like really changed the narrative. Like
Yes.
to have the kind of pressure of like I'm the only one who can do magic and it has to be great.
Yeah, I know for me, when I was researching it, the real enlightening thing, even beyond his childhood, was that year before Harry went to Hogwarts. So 2 years before he got the job, when Dumbledore saw him like in this series of events, almost, take the stories from kids, like basically started sniffing out something, that was like, oh, wow, that kind of explains, because I know on the podcast we had the discussion about why the hell would Dumbledore bring this guy in?
Yeah, when he clearly can't just do any magic.
Right. And I think we had hypothesized that it might be to expose him, but this kind of shows that there was a little bit more to it than that. And that honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that the Chamber of Secrets was opened, it wouldn't have been a bad thing, because it was obviously like anyone who was at Hogwarts was seeing him progress and show how much lack of competence he had. So I think Dumbledore's plan would have worked. The only bad thing is that it happened to work at a year that had a very disastrous thing happen.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, it is the end of the episode, so I'm going to do what Christina normally does. Nick, do you have anything you wish to plug?
Feel free to follow me on Instagram. I am Thick Lizzie McGuire. Or Twitter, Thick Lizzie McG.
There we go. Christina?
You can follow me on Instagram at Your Girl of the World, and you can follow me on Twitter at Tina Fontina.
Awesome. And I, as always, do not have anything to plug because I'm not cool or interesting. So just keep listening to the podcast. And patrons, I want to thank you all so much. It was so much fun to do this. And please let us know, email us, comment, however you contact our show.
Oh, honey. He's not on social media.
I'm not. But
email us at restricted section pod is what he's trying to say.
Yes. There we go. Thank you. And let us know if you like this, because I would definitely be down to do more of these. If you have any one that you want to do one about, let us know.
Oh, yeah. Who's the biggest bastard?
Yeah, if you have any contenders for biggest bastard, definitely let me. I want to try and avoid like Voldemort, because that's
like Hitler. It's like it's too easy. But we definitely do lady bastards too. So maybe a Bellatrix Lestrange is in order.
Oh, that could be good.
That's a bastard, dude.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet there's a bunch of additional information that we didn't get in the books that's been released about her too. So that could be a fun one.
You're going to tell me all the stories of all the terrible people I'll be hearing.
Well, I was going to say we might have to keep your other Harry Potter universe knowledge down low so we can
I'll keep my blinders on so I can be on the podcast.
Yes.
I'm excited. I've been in the dark this long. It'll be great.
There we go. Awesome. Well, it's a plan. So like I said, listeners, just let us know if you like this, and we could do more in the future if you want. And then before we go, I also obviously have to thank Nick. Nick, thank you so much for coming on tonight. And you really, you helped bring what started as a little gift from Tina of a possibility into a wonderful reality for me. I loved every minute of this. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. I had so much fun with you guys. I'm glad to be the bow on top.
Beautifully put. And with that, endings are hard. So bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
The Restricted section was created by me, Christina Kahn, based on the book series by J.K. Rowling. Theme music by Ryan Kahn, remixed by Zinnet Music Studio. Logo by Michael Hardison. Be sure to like our Facebook page, The Restricted Section Podcast, join our Facebook group, The Restricted Section Detention Crew, follow us on Instagram at Restricted Section Pod, and on Twitter at Restricted Pod. If you want to join our Discord server, shoot a message to one of our socials and I'll get you connected. You can also email us at restrictedsectionpod@gmail.com with thoughts, feelings, complaints, or even lavish praise. Until next time, podheads.
As Robert Evan tells us, podcasts are all live. There is no way to edit. It's not a thing.